Okay, so this is a Winn-Dixie chuck roast, weighs about 2.5 pounds. And I used kosher salt, and I sprinkled kosher salt on both sides of it yesterday. And I put it in the refrigerator overnight with the kosher salt on it and some tin foil on top. And then about 3 hours ago, I took it out of the fridge and sat it on the counter so it could get to room temperature. So right now, my probe says it's 63 degrees. And I want to cook this to about 121, 123 degrees at the most. So that means I have 60 degrees to go. And I have my grill as hot as it'll go, preheated. I preheated it like 20-30 minutes ago, and I scraped all my grates off. So now that it's preheated, I don't need all of these 6 burners, so I'm going to turn a couple off because the grates are super hot. I'm going to turn half of it off, and I'm just going to go with the searing burner and the 2 other burners here, and this is just going to be off. Okay, so that's step 1, and I'm getting ready to put the meat on there. Okay, so the meat's on there for the first time, and I forgot to mention that when I took it out of the fridge a few hours ago, I finished the seasoning on it. I used Emerald seasoning and some Montreal steak seasoning on both sides and let it sit while it was getting to room temperature. Also rinsed out my pan and my spatula after I put this on the grill so that I wouldn't have dirty raw stuff in my pan and my spatula. So we started off at 63 degrees and we need to get it to 123, so that's a 60 degree difference. And we want to put the meat on there like it is on one side, but that's going to make the lines go this way. And then we want to turn the meat like that, and that'll make the lines go the other way, so they'll have square lines like the steakhouse. So what we're going to do is we're going to cook it just like this for 15 degrees. And the reason why we're going to go up 15 degrees is because we started at 63 and we want to go to 123, which means I have to raise this temperature by 60 more degrees. So in order to cook the steak this way, then this way, then flip it this way, and then this way, to get the squares on both sides, we have to flip it 4 times. So you take the 60 degrees that we need to go up and divide it by 4, and that means we're going to cook it for 15 degrees each time before we move it, and we're going to move it 4 times. That's going to bring it up a total of 60 degrees to our target temperature. So we started off at 63, so we need to go to 78. So once this hits 78, I will flip it over. Okay, we're about to come up on 78, which is the temperature that we're going to flip it. So now I'm going to flip it straight over. Keeping it the same way, so now the bottom lines are going to go the same way as these top lines. Do not spray it with any liquids or anything because you won't get that good crusty sear on the outside. And you want to cook it with the lid open the whole time, because if you close the lid, then you're actually going to bake it. It's going to get heat from all sides if you close the lid, and it's going to bake it. And it's going to cook a lot faster. We don't want to cook it fast. We want to cook it to exact temperature in the middle. Right? So that's why we're flipping it. And we divided the temperature by 4 so that we're evenly cooking the same amount on each side. And we will be back at 90 something degrees, whatever that is. We started at 63, we went to 78, so now we need 15 more degrees, so we'll We'll flip it again at 93. Alright, so we're cooking it with the lid open. And if you notice, I put my probe right in the center of the meat. You want to find the thickest point in the meat and put it in the dead center, because it's going to read the temperature of the very center of the meat, and that's where you're going to get your temperatures for how well done your meat is. Okay, so that's the second flip, and we just reached 93 degrees, so now we're going to flip it and we're going to cook it to 108 degrees, which is 15 degrees more. So we want to get the lines like a square or a triangle, so we're going to turn the meat and flip it. And we're going to let it go to 108 now. 93 plus 15 is 108. So we're at the step where we're cooking this to 108. It still has a while to go. It's only at 99. But another reason why you cook with the lid open is so you get all that good char on the meat. Instead of closing the lid and baking the meat, the actual fire has to cook the meat from the outside in, and you get all that good charring going on the meat, which adds a lot of texture and stuff. Also, the probe is going into the transmitter, so that's my transmitter, but it's transmitting to my receiver here. I can put my receiver on my belt and walk around, do whatever I want. And as you can see, it tells you the temperature right here is 100, and I set it to go off at 123. So when this reaches 123, this thing's gonna flash and give off a audible alarm and let me know that it's reached the 123. That's our target temperature for medium rare. Okay, so we're getting ready to creep up on 108, which means we're going to do our fourth and final flip to get the squares on the back side of the steak. And we're at 108 right now. So that's the finish that side. This side will be finished at 123. 108 plus 15 is 123. That's our exact target temperature. So we're right on, dead on, perfect. Don't spray your steaks with water or juice or anything when you're cooking them, because it just turns to steam and it ends up steaming your steak. And then you're gonna have steamed meat instead of grilled meat. All right, so this is the end. We're creeping up on that 123. Final internal temperature. It's going to flip 4 times, and then we're going to pull it off and put it in the pan. Then we're going to set the pan on the counter with tin foil on top of it loosely, and we're going to let it sit for about 20 minutes. So we hit our 123 temperature. We're going to pull it off, put it in the pan, and that's it. Shut off the grill, turn off the gas, and my remote says 123, 123. It's at 123, it was set to 123. Only thing is I didn't turn the alarm on, so the alarm didn't go off. See, now it just went to 124. That's because there's a lot of heat in this meat still, and the temperature is going to continue to rise. The actual temperature for medium rare is about 130. So that's why we took it off at 123. This temperature is going to continue to rise as it sits. And we're going to let it sit for about 20 minutes on the counter before we slice it open. Do not put it in the oven to keep it warm or anything like that. And you see all the juice that's on it. After it sits for like 20 minutes, the meat will absorb all that juice back into the meat, and the meat will be juicier. So that's it. That's how to cook a medium rare chuck steak. So I put the meat on the top of the stove here just to sit and let it rest. As you can see, I just laid the foil on top of there. But we took it off the grill at 123, and now it's at 130, which is perfect medium rare. So it needs to sit here for like 20 minutes. The temperature's going to keep going up, and you want to adjust your temperature that you pull it off the grill based on the temperature, the maximum temperature that it goes up to. So my experience is that it goes up about 7 or 8 degrees as it sits, and that's why I pull it at 123. But the whole key to cooking it to perfect medium rare is you take your start temperature and your final temperature. You subtract your final temperature from your start temperature. So in this case, we started at 63 degrees. It was when it was room temperature, and we wanted to go up to 123, which is exactly 60 degrees hotter. And we need to flip it 4 times. So you divide 60 by 4 and you get 15 degrees. So every 15 degrees I flipped it, and it just hit 131. That's probably about the max that it will get to. So actually, if I wanted it a little more medium rare, I probably could have pulled it at, instead of 123, I probably could have pulled it at 120. So keep that in mind when you figure out your target temperature versus your start temperature and divide it by 4 to do your 4 flips. And that's it. And I also have twice baked potatoes in the oven. Probably gonna make some broccoli to go with it. Okay, so the steak's been sitting here. And this is what it looks like. And we're gonna move it over to the cutting board, and we'll see what the final product looks like. And that's it. Perfect.